Straight on to our top story at 9 p.m. this evening with me, Supriya, Shrinate on India Tonight then. It is clearly game over for Cyrus Mistry. In a sudden move, the former chairman of Tata Sons announced his resignation as the director from 6 listed Tata Group companies, ahead of the forthcoming EGMs, that is. In a video addressed to the stakeholders of Tata Group companies, Mistry said he will now take the battle to the courts of law. Mistry also raised some serious corporate governance issues, raising the red flag over the Tata Group's investments in AirAsia and financial aid given to Sivasankaran. A close aide of Ratan Tata, that is. Mistry said Ratan Tata and Noshir Soonawala continue to call the shots at the operating companies, raising some serious corporate governance issues. Mistry's sudden exit and what it means to the Tata Group, that is our top story right here on India Tonight. Let's listen in to Cyrus Mistry then.
Over the last 5 decades, my family's steadfast support for the Tata Group has been one of guardianship. We have always ensured that we did the right thing for the right reasons, regardless of the consequences. It has now been 8 weeks, waiting for concrete reasons to be provided by Mr. Ratan Tata for the illegal coup he staged on the 24th of October. Nothing cogent has been forthcoming. Having reflected deeply, I think it is time to shift gears, up the momentum, and be more incisive in securing the best interests of the Tata Group. In order to be more effective, serve the objective of governance reform, and to regain lost ethical ground, I have decided to shift from the forum of EGMs to a larger platform, and also one where the rule of law and equity is upheld. It is now clear that my attempt to protect and preserve the ethical legacy of our founding father, Jamshedji Tata, was the real cause for my ouster. The pursuit of good governance and ethical business seemed to have caused a serious discomfort in some quarters. I have been attempting to resolve the governance breakdown at Tata Sons for a considerable period of time. Mr. Ratan Tata and Mr. Noshir Soonawala, trustees of Tata Trusts, who have retired from Tata Sons after multiple extensions, have refused to give up participation in key decisions involving Tata Sons and the operating companies, including those listed in India and abroad. This has undermined the Tata Sons board, apart from exposing the Tata Group, including the boards of directors of various listed companies, to serious regulatory consequences. Such behavior has adverse implications for the beneficiaries of the Tata Trusts, which are public charitable trusts. In recent weeks, I have brought to the fore various ethical issues and evidence of governance breakdown in the Tata Group at the hands of certain trustees. I have raised the issue of recovery of large sums of money due from one Mr. Sivasankaran to Tata Sons in the September 15th board meeting, securing approval to litigate. Within a few days, Tata Sons receives a legal notice instead, clearly indicating a leak from Tata Sons. The history of questionable dealings between the Tata Group and him is a matter of record, since he proudly flaunts his close personal bond with Mr. Ratan Tata. I had also tabled a forensic report containing findings of fraud and wrongdoing at AirAsia India Limited for discussion at the October 24th board meeting. This discussion did not happen. Under the interim chairman, Mr. Ratan Tata, a subsequent board meeting of Tata Sons was held on November 17th. With full knowledge of the fraud, further funds were released to AirAsia Limited. Yet, no concrete steps expected of an ethical organization to fix responsibility for the fraud have been taken till date. These are but some live examples. We all are aware of the 2G scam and its unfortunate imprint on the reputation of the Tata Group. Even today, we hear of potential prosecution of those involved from the Tata Group. Bringing to the fore these ethical issues can have a short-term adverse impact on the Tata Group. However, I feel strongly that such short-term pain is necessary for the long-term interests of employees, public shareholders, and other stakeholders of the Tata Group. As a large shareholder of Tata Sons and a proud long-term partner, my family will also equally suffer this pain. The time has come to take matters to their logical conclusion. I will work on protecting the interests of the Tata Group and realizing the vision of our founder, Jamshedji Tata, until my last breath. I thank you for all your support.
For a man who did not speak even once as chairman of Tata Sons, that's a hard-hitting outgoing statement from Cyrus Mistry, raising many ethical issues at Tata Group. Very emotional outburst as well. But let's take this across to two men who've been following that story very, very diligently. The coverage being led by my colleague Abhinav Das and Vijay Iyer, who's joining him outside Bombay House as well. Thanks very much, both you gentlemen, for being there. Vijay, let's begin with you. Mistry certainly doesn't seem very emotional. He's rather combative. He's angry to an extent. What did really make him take that plunge? I mean, he wanted to fight it out, and then perhaps he realized he's from a position of weakness and not strength because the numbers weren't adding up in these EGMs, important ones coming up, Indian Hotels, Tata Chemicals, Tata Steel there.
Absolutely, Supriya, as you're rightly pointing out, clearly this was one option which Mistry even could have opted even before this whole EGM process was started and the notices were issued to remove him as a director. But clearly, many would also say that Mistry was wanting to test the mood of the shareholders, and that is why perhaps he waited till the time the TCS share EGM got over last week. And clearly, although it is yet debatable, but there are indications that a lot of retail shareholders particularly voted in his favor, although we all know TCS arithmetically was always in favor of Tata Sons. Also in the upcoming EGM, as you're rightly pointing out, although a couple of them, including tomorrow's Indian Hotels and Tata Power, become infructuous now that he's resigned, but clearly there it was all where Tata Sons had limited promoter shareholding in the range of 30 to 33%. So clearly there were indications that this could go to the wire, assuming that some institutions favor Mistry. But clearly now tested the waters and clearly gaining that perhaps some sympathizing factor from the shareholders. He decided enough is enough, and clearly decided he's going to step down as he's no more the chairman of Tata Sons, and thereby the argument coming in that he logically should step down from other holding group companies. But we need to remember he clearly still sits on the board of Tata Sons as a director. It's only the other holding companies of Tata Group that he is resigned. So clearly for now he's called a truce, but clearly perhaps we'll have to wait and see how he's going to take this fight of corporate governance to the camp of Tatas in the coming months ahead.
Vijay, hold your thoughts there. It's time to get in Abhinav into this entire discussion. Abhi, I don't just want you to answer the very then and now question. You were obviously going to bring in more perspective to the story. You know, the point that Vijay made, that is this really truce, or is he actually moving beyond truce? Because I know you did have you did have a off-camera meeting with Cyrus Mistry, but I'm sure he opened up more. What are you making of this? He's obviously going to take this to a larger platform. He doesn't want to fight a boardroom and EGM battle. Are we staring I have multiple questions for you. So let's begin with, are we staring at a long drawn legal affair? And what was Cyrus Mistry like when he wasn't facing the shutterbugs of the cameras?
Well, Supriya, the long-drawn legal battle is almost a given, because I had a chat with Cyrus and he very clearly said that he is exploring legal options, although at this point in time he is not ready to give in more. So legal options will remain for sure. But one also important point that he made is he is not looking to step down from Tata Sons. He made it very clear. He says that, look, I won't be stepping down from Tata Sons. It's for the Tatas to see whether they want to remove me from the board. But again, that's not going to the fact that the family, the Shapurji Palonji family, they owned 18.5% stake in Tata Sons, and obviously he would be there to protect his minority shareholders' rights. So to that extent, he also knows even if the Tatas want to, it may not be easy for them to oust him from the holding company, which is Tata Sons. And so long he is there at Tata Sons, it's a little bit going to be uneasy for the Tatas for sure. Secondly, coming to my chat with Cyrus, yes, he'll looked unhappy, he looked sad, but the resolve was very much there. In fact, he pointed out that he was just in no mood to create disruption when it comes to the Tata Group companies. His point is that, look, the way the institutional shareholders voted, one thing is very clear, that they didn't want disruption, and they knew that had they favored or supported Cyrus, it would have led to some sort of a disruption. But abstaining, they wanted to send out a very clear message that the Tatas need some reforms very badly, and that's what he's trying to push for. But yes, one interesting point that he also made, that when we were asking whether about his equations with Noel and what does it mean if Tatas take over, he says that he enjoys excellent relationship with Noel, because at the end of the day Noel is also his brother-in-law. But his point is, going forward, the Tatas should be in safe hands, and that is what his fight is all about. Supriya?
Indeed. Abhinaba, stay with us because I want you to wade us through this entire discussion that we're going to have. It's a fascinating evening as far as corporate India and boardroom battles are concerned. But let's take this across to three men who's going to get us the best perspective possible. Anil Singhvi, Gurucharan Das and Mohit Saraf. Thank you very much, each one of you, for being with us. Mr. Gurucharan Das, as the elder statesman, let me start with you. Why do you think Cyrus decided to make this call that he did today? He's decided to opt out. Do you believe it's a pragmatic decision because he saw what was coming in the EGMs that were to follow? He wasn't coming from a position of strength, but a position of weakness. He did not have the numbers stacked up.
Yeah, I think this was expected. This should have happened, and he didn't have enough votes, and I'm not even sure the battle that he waged was worth waging. But whatever it is, he has sullied the name of the Tatas in the process, and that's a bit of a shame. I think Ratan handled it poorly, and so he has to pay for his mistakes. And one of the first mistakes was actually to appoint him. After doing a global search, you don't appoint the son of your largest external shareholder who has managed a tier 2 construction company to do an impossible job of a conglomerate of over $100 billion, which has 50 companies, and many of them are in trouble. You need a superhero for that job, and I hope Ratan has learned that lesson and will now ensure that he gets the best person to do the job. The lessons that this story holds are still what we have talked about earlier. It's a cautionary tale for India's business community, and the business community has to learn to separate ownership and management, and separate family's interest from business interest. And we need to evolve, our business needs to evolve from a family to a managerial capitalism, as has happened in many mature countries. So that is the big lesson, and I think the Indian industry, I think Tata was actually one of the better examples of this, especially in the companies they run, but this is a real problem in Indian industry. The second lesson, I think, is what we have learned now, is that trusts cannot have the ability to control large companies. That doesn't seem right. And certainly it's unfair because only Tata and Birla trusts are allowed to do that because they've been grandfathered.
Fair point indeed, Mr. Das. I'll just urge all of you to be a little brief so that we can cover a lot of ground. Anil Singhvi and Mohit Saraf, let's begin this discussion with you then. And Anil Singhvi, why do you think Cyrus Mistry decided to leave today? Why did he not quit on the 25th of October? This was a very no-holds-barred battle. Not much was being left unsaid. There was a lot of dirty linen that was being washed on both sides. And yet he chose today because there were EGMs to follow. Why We've not known Cyrus Mistry to be a softie there.
Supriya, I think let's look at completely de novo from 24th October till date, the 2 months period which has gone by on that. On 24th, definitely this came as a rude shock to Cyrus, and he never thought that Tatas would move ahead with the EGMs to oust him completely from the board of all the operating companies. I think somewhere Tata Sons board seemed to have taken a very definitive step in terms of just ousting Cyrus without giving any reasons. So I think he really for a couple of weeks was wondering that whether they would come out with real reason or give some chance for him to really speak up. But when the EGMs were called, obviously numbers were not in favor, everyone knew about it. But he wanted to fight out with the shareholder support and all of that, but realizing very clearly that in India, like LICs and institutions, more often that they don't vote. So finally it was like a battle, looking at the minority shareholders. If they want to choose and they want to vote, then only things could have worked out in his favor. But I am very saddened by the fact that particularly for LIC and other institutions, they chose to abstain rather than to vote on this. And the second issue which is according to me, and I think Mr. Gurcharan Das has very well covered it, that the whole image of Tata Group has now sullied. I don't think it will look ever like what it looked for almost 50, 60, 70 years. So today when we look at from both sides, from Cyrus's side and from Mr. Ratan Tata's side, I think at the end of the day, who has suffered the most is A, the Tata brand, A, the reputation of the group, and to some extent the minority shareholders who have lost considerable wealth in last 2 months. So I hope that going forward, whatever Cyrus has talked about today, but without talking about or without getting into that, it should be a legal battle. According to me, I think it's a good time for Mr. Tata to set right. Obviously, age is not on his side. He should do it ASAP. That the relationship between Tata Trust and Tata Sons should be very clearly defined. Whosoever he wants to get into a chairman's post at Tata Sons should have a good equation with Tata Trust, because that was the basic problem, that for the first time we had a person who was not also the chairperson of the Tata Trust. So this is where the equation really got into, where you had the power centers at the trust and there were very small power center left with Tata Sons. And third point is that the board, the Tata Sons board, and especially the people who came on the board just about 2 or 3 months back, I think definitely, I mean, not enough has been talked in media, but I think definitely they have really muddled up the whole situation. They did not come out with in a glory. So at the end of the day today, when you look at for last 2 months, and dispassionately if I move back and see what has happened here, is that when you look at the Tata Sons board, how they really acted on 24th of October, and thereafter in the last 2 months, I think the minority shareholders really got shafted in this whole matter. I think going forward, Mr. Ratan Tata, and it is really incumbent upon him that he has to really restore the confidence of all minority shareholders, put around a governance. I think this will be a huge legacy if you can do it today and correct it between Tata Trust and Tata Sons. And as I have been saying, I think Tata Trust has to really take a back seat, look at really larger issues of philanthropy rather than managing the companies. I don't think it is incumbent upon any trust for that matter that they should be really looking at operating companies, and they should be really responsible for both ways, accountable and responsible for running the operating companies. So I think it is very important now. I think to some extent Cyrus has done a right thing in without getting into this EGMs for next 4 or 5 days, that he has stepped down from all the boards except Tata Sons, where I think being a minority shareholder of 18% in Tata Sons, he has a legitimacy to be on the board. And going forward, I think he should now in Tata Sons prepare the Tata Sons board and prepare all of them there, that they must have now at least a very good governance practice in terms of what relationship Tata Trust should have with Tata Sons, and Tata Sons in turn should have it with the operating companies. I think this is the next 6 months time to be fixed. Who will come as a chairman? I think it is a secondary issue to my mind, because it is not going to be, again, should be a person centric. It should be more an institutional framework which has to be put in place.
Right. Right. I'll come to succession and all of that in just a bit, Mr. Singhvi, but let's get in Mohit Saraf, your good friend here also on this show. And Mohit, the point that both my panelists have made so far, that this is where, I mean, yes, it's an action done. Cyrus Mistry has decided to quit listed entities, but the fact is that this also opens the way, and many people have now pointed enough fingers for the Tata Group to get its act together. They can no longer turn away from the fact that there are serious issues about Tata Trust and the influence it yields in listed entities. They have no business having price-sensitive information before exchanges do. So, I mean, my larger question to you really is this now also the opportunity for the Tatas to review and restructure?
I absolutely agree that if they were sharing price-sensitive information, I think they need to fix the rules of governance. But again, I think we have to be a little bit more pragmatic. All issues of governance and misgovernance is all talked about Cyrus Mistry, who was asked to leave. It is allegation. It is not proven fact. And I don't think any of us should judge. In my views, actually, I think what Gurucharan said, I just say that really Cyrus himself has sullied his impression and his Shapurji group, that to the extent he could disclose private, confidential matters at a board level to public and media, these are abuse of fiduciary duties. In my view, he was not a shareholder of any of the listed company. He was not a shareholder. He was a shareholder of Tata Sons. And he was only a board of director. He had a fiduciary duties. He breached all rules of governance and talked about all these allegations. So in my view, clearly, I would say people have looked at it. It's not that he did not have the numbers. I think everybody realized that they have invested in the Tata Group of company, and Tata need to run the show. And clearly, I think what Anil said, if there are issues of maybe a wrong practice being followed, particularly in light of the new rules of insider trading, those need to be fixed. But again, I don't really believe that that is really the prime cause of all these things. The prime cause was to get control of these companies by using independent directors. And I would say what Gurucharan just said, it's such an important part that actually this institution of independent director being misused by professional director, and though he was interested with being a shareholder, that has been fixed. So at least it will encourage promoter-driven companies to have professional directors and independent directors, and they will feel that these people can run the company, and if there is a problem, they can change it. I think what Cyrus Mistry and his independent directors set a standard is that people will hold these companies forever and not let a young professional guy run the company because they'll be scared. And it's a very good thing which has happened. He's damaged Cyrus Mistry as a Mistry Group image. He's damaged Tata Group image.
Right.
He's eroded wealth for the group. But I would say at least a big learning is that let the boardroom battle be in boardroom, not spoken out. And if you have to complain, go to the regulator and complain, not the public. This is not the way governments are done.
Mohit, I'll come to that. Mohit, I will come to that in just a bit, and I'm going to seek your indulgence there simply because, you know, these are issues that we have to discuss. Whether he did the right thing, should he have spoken before? I'm going to get Abhinava also into this. But Mr. Gurucharan Das, if I may quickly get that point out of the way, which Anil Singhvi made, which Mohit Saraf, kind of agreed with, that does this pave the way? Should one also review the role of trusts and non-profit entities? They have huge holding, and this is not a level playing field. They are being grandfathered, the new ones can't come in. How does one look into all of this, Mr. Gurucharan Das?
And so my point was that it's not a level playing field today, because if a new industrial house or a new company makes a trust, it cannot do what Tata Trusts and Birla Trusts can do because they are grandfathered. That this needs to be reviewed because and also so everybody should be allowed to do the same thing. Now I'm not saying that trusts should not be allowed to hold equity. It's very important that trusts also can hold equity, but you've got to limit that equity to a small amount so that a charitable trust cannot actually control a large company. That is the point. So you can have 2%, 3%, but not a lot, and I would say open this exemption to all companies, all trusts.
Okay, just hold your thoughts there because I want to get in Abhinav Das. He's been speaking to both sides. He was present in that meeting that Cyrus Mistry just had with very, very select media where he spoke on the statement that he had made, where he spoke about his plans ahead. But Abhi, are you getting a sense at all that the other side is even willing and open to review and restructure something that is now being written about? Editorial columns are now alternate. We've got commentators on national television talking about this. I mean, those haloed walls seem to be breached.
Absolutely, Supriya. In fact, this is something which is now a given actually. In fact, the Tatas don't have a choice but to take a relook at the structures, at the way Tata Trusts hold operating companies, how much of the price sensitive information actually can flow out of these companies to the trustees and the holding company per se. These are things which will have to be debated, and the Tatas will have to fix this problem, because if you look at it, I mean, I would say that with Mistry stepping down as the chairman of Tata Group companies, as the director of most of the other companies, what also it does is it throws up those kind of questions that what happens now, because for the Tatas the bigger thing is to fix those governance issues. But I would want to come to Mr. Singhvi. Mr. Singhvi, I mean, if I look at the Tatas going forward, how difficult will be for the Tatas to find a new chairman, given the kind of mess that the boardroom battle has thrown up?
Relationship between Tata Trust, Tata Sons and operating companies. I think it is very important that, and I think Mr. Tata other day had mentioned this, that this 3 or 4 months is not casted in stone. So I think he gave his mind that earlier he talked about that in 3 or 4 months time he is only an interim chairman and some new chairman will be appointed so soon. Don't forget, in 2011-12 it took almost 12 months and then also they couldn't find anyone. So today the things are far more messier than what they were in 2011 and 12. So today to find, and they should not be in hurry. According to me, I would not even like that they hurriedly they get something because they have just put a deadline to themselves. I think Mr. Tata, because today he holds still a very powerful person in Tata Trust and now also in Tata Sons. I think he has to first and foremost fix these issues very clearly, the relationship between Tata Trust, Tata Sons and operating companies. I think once he puts all the governance practices and fixes the relationship, then it will be very easy that you get a person who is going to do the job, because if his job is to really look at the relationship between the Tata Trust and Tata Sons, I think the man's job will be just to look at the egos of the people. So I think it's an important factor, and I'm sure Mr. Tata will now it is very, very clear that in next 6 months to a year's time he has to fix. And third point is very important factor is this, that Tata Trust, and particularly who are the trustees who are coming in there. I think I see very often people in India at 80, 85 and 90 they want to become the trustees. I think the role of the trustees today and the role of the people who really want to get into this kind of a job should be in around 45 and 50. Why should you have an 85 and 90 year that they become only the trustees? So I think what Mr. Gurchand Das had mentioned, a very clear thing, that it has to be seen in a very different format. When new corporates are also getting into a trust format, the trustees need not be at 80 and 85, this not be a parking lot, but it should be an operating job to do a good job in the trust and then leave the Tata Sons, because Tata Sons is basically buffered between Tata Trust and operating companies. So role and responsibility of Tata Trust also should be very clearly defined. People should not come with the agenda and people should not come with the kind of think what we have seen in last 3 or 4 months time. So I think it's very, very important that these issues are fixed by Mr. Tata and he should not be in a hurry to appoint a chairman.
He may not be in a hurry to appoint the chairman, but Mr. Gurucharan Das, when he does, and there were all sorts of names that were doing the round earlier, none of those names are being talked about now, from Indira Nooyi to all those global honchos. My bigger question to you is, what would be going through the mind of anybody who's being considered for this job? Am I going to keep doing the balancing act between Tata Trust and Ratan Tata and listed entities, or will I be a man with my own choices and my own decisions to make? Because look at what happened to the last one who wanted to do this. Mr. Das?
Well, I think that's exactly right. I mean, they need to be reassured that they'll have the autonomy. They'll need to be reassured that their relationship to the Tatas will be that of a board versus a manager, and no looking over the shoulders. And so I think that Tatas would have to provide that, Ratan Tata would have to provide that comfort and a legal structure that ensures it. There are a lot of good people who would be candidates. I mean, this is not an easy job to do. It's a heroic job to turn some of these companies around, especially in these difficult conditions. And I would say that while there are good people there, they will only come if they have the autonomy, the authority to get the job done.
I do want to end this thread of discussion, which is about succession here, and just get a quick word from Mohit Saraf, take a breather, and come back and discuss so much more. 18.5% that they hold. I wanted to ask Abhinava, what about the minority shareholders, stuff like that. But Mohit Saraf, you agree that whoever comes in next has to be a man who will stand up and make their own choices. He has to be reassured of independence. Or do you believe that's elusive, may not happen?
Actually, I don't think companies are run the way you are talking about. It's a board of directors who run the company. The promoters have a voice in that whole thing. And people discuss. No board in this company is run by one individual or one guy who's got an absolute freedom. It's an issue where you have to explain issues to independent directors, you have to explain issues to promoters, and you run it. So really, I don't think any CEO, I deal with CEO all the time, I've never seen any CEO taking up a job because he's got an absolute freedom. Really what you do is that can you really make people buy into your program, and can you make them understand that it is good for the company? And I think those levels of gives and take, it's not I'm talking about illegal issues, but what I'm saying is you basically come up with a common thing which is good for everybody. And I think there's nothing wrong in it. And no professional manager expect absolute authority and absolute freedom. I think that's not the way the modern world companies are run.
Indeed,
But
I'll buy
again,
your point
just to
there, but
add
I'm going
one
to take a
thing.
quick breather and come back and talk to... Yes. Mohit, I'll have to take a breather, and I'm told by my producer if I don't, he's going to cut me off. So I'll take a quick breather, I'll come back in a minute and we'll just discuss a lot more. Welcome back. You're watching India Tonight, and it's time to take the discussion forward onto specifics. And Anil Singhvi, let me begin with you. He's not just talking about in lofty generalities. Cyrus Mistry, in his outgoing statement, has very categorically mentioned the funding of Air Asia and said that on the 11th of November, Ratan Tata allowed more funds. Knowing of the fraud, he's also specifically raised Sivasankaran and has said he wanted to litigate against Shiva, but then the boardroom information got leaked. Is it time that regulators begin to make specific inquiries into this? Can everybody just keep shut and pretend as if nothing was said?
I think the allegations which Cyrus has made, if they are right and if the facts back them up, I think I've not seen the last 2 months regulators even opening their mouth on this whole subject. They wanted EGMs to really take the center stage and see what needs to be done. But you are very right. I think it is a time for regulators to look at it. Not only SEBI, according to me, if there is a serious charge of fraud, then SFIO should be moving in, because this is a clear case of an unlisted company, because SEBI can do only for listed companies. So unlisted company being Tata Sons, I think SFIO should look into the serious charge made by Cyrus Mistry on that. So I think these are the issues which have been there right from day one, when Cyrus put out this 5-page letter, thereafter followed up with a few more allegations on all of that. I think the regulators have to look into those charges. Auditors of those companies need also to look into those charges and find out what the truth is.
Abhi, because you were with the man, I'm curious to ask you a question that I thought I'll come to a little later in the discussion, but because I'm curious and curiosity does kill the cat, I must ask you. 18.5% stake is what Cyrus Mistry's family still does in Tata Sons. Was there any chat about what does he intend to do with this? I mean, amidst all this fight, does he actually intend keeping on to that share? Could we see some divestments? I mean, will you just help us understand?
Well, Supriya, I did ask that question to Cyrus, and he maintained that the family is holding on to this stake for 50 long years, and there is no reason for the family to divest its stake in Tata Sons. What he maintains is that the well-being of Tata Sons is also in his own family's interest, and that's why he wants to make sure that the Tatas are in safe hands. So, to that extent, I think he made it very, very clear that as far as the Tata Sons holding is concerned, they are not running away. They are not looking to sell their stake at all, and they will stay invested in Tata Sons. I don't know how comfortable for the Tatas that will be going forward, but yes, that's how things stand at this point in time. But I want to raise a question to Mohit Saraf. Mohit, if I could ask you that this whole Tata Mistry spat, this brought to the fore the role of the independent directors. One thing I just want to know, isn't it time for the independent directors to stand up and be counted?
Absolutely. I think they need to understand their role, they need to work towards it, but they should not let themselves be abused by a minority shareholder trying to take control of the company. I think that's an important part. Just standing up to the promoter is not the role of an independent director. Standing up for an abuse. Now, if there was an issue of fraud, that should have been brought to the independent directors, which I don't think Cyrus ever brought in. These are all allegations. That is something he should have brought to independent directors, and if independent directors would have failed, they would be personally liable. That has been provided in law. What he did was, he's talking about that there was a fraud in your investment company and you still fund it. Globally, you see, there are frauds all over the world, but that doesn't mean that you throw your company in a dustbin. You have to fund it. And probably they funded the company and they fixed the problem. And if they didn't fix the problem, and if he was on the board of the director, he should have taken that issue to the independent director, to the audit committee, which is done by the independent director. So in my whole way, I feel is that really this is not an ethics issue. This was a pure control by a minority shareholder abusing the independence of independent director. And that exactly he saw on the wall when EGM after EGM he's been asked to go. You cannot run the companies, the alter ego of the companies are the promoter. That is what the law is. When you buy into Reliance or Tata, it's a Tata Group or a Reliance Group. It's not Cyrus Mistry Group. And this was an abused position. And in my view, really, this will set a trend right. And people will be encouraged to get professional managers, high quality independent directors, because they will not be under fear that, like what Guru Charan said, the ownership and management, they will not be fear that my company will be taken over and I'll be kicked out. That's a wrong trend. And I would say we have to fix the issues of governance, leak of information, price-sensitive information, relationship between trust and a shareholder. Those issues have to be fixed. And I think that's what Ratan Tata need to look into that and get the right governance rules. And I think we have never seen any allegation. I think we have heard him saying that, okay, he was a friend, but he never said that he's personally benefited from it. So I think the companies have followed levels of governance. And I think they never wanted him to resign. They wanted him to continue as a director. They only wanted him to resign from the director. He could have helped the company, the board to reform. But the way he took the battle to finish, and he didn't care about, I would say, the market capital falling and all those allegations. And I think right now what he's doing is he's actually harming himself and he's harming the other shareholders. So I would say there's a lot of maturity. I think if you look at... Please go ahead.
I get that point, Mohit. Just hold your thoughts there, because I will come back to you and talk to you about how better it could have been handled. But Anil Singh, before I throw this back to Abhinav, I have a question to ask of you. This entire episode has raised the question on how EGMs are conducted in the country, how independent directors behave, how independent they really are. Are they really the conscience keepers? Are they just paper tigers? Because look at what the independent directors wanted and look at how the results eventually panned out in certain companies. What would you say to all of this?
Well, Supriya, the institution of independent directors in India, I think we are seeing it much better than what it used to be 5-10 years back. So, definitely it is going in right direction. We are covering almost 700 companies, and each day we look at it that how the institution of independent directors is really becoming far more robust than what it has been. The Act is providing them both accountability as and authority as well at the same time, be it audit committee or a remuneration committee. But this whole episode of all the Tata companies, when you look at Mr. Deepak Parekh or look at Mr. Nazir Mirza talking about it, or look at other independent directors who rose, and we haven't discussed about Mr. Nasli Wadia, who has filed a defamation suit, and he himself has gone and challenged that he cannot be kicked out from the boards as independent director. So, one hasn't seen the last word spoken on the independence of the independent director even in this saga. So, I am yet to see what Mr. Nasli Wadia's role will be after Cyrus has decided to step down from all the 6 companies. How is he going to take? Is he going to take this battle as an independent director of the 3 companies, the listed companies, to the next level? But coming back to this, what the role and responsibility of independent directors, whether this group of 6 or 7 companies, whether they conducted themselves, I think to a very large extent they conducted themselves in a very independent manner. Maybe some people had taken a position which may not have suited the whole narrative which is there on this, that they were favoring Cyrus Mistry on this, that he was doing a good job. But I don't think we should question whether they are in favor of Ratan Tata or they are in favor of Cyrus Mistry. If they are opposing Ratan Tata, then they are not independent. This is what I think more or less people have been talking on your show, and I have been watching them every time they talk about it, that if they are opposing the Tata's move, then they are not independent and they are siding with Cyrus Mistry. I think their role and job is to look at the evaluation of the board.
I get your point, Anil. Mr. Singhvi, I'll interrupt you there because I do want to get in Abhinav Das. I have very limited time on the show. I want to get Abhi on one thing. And Abhi, you know, the EGMs become irrelevant now, at least as far as Cyrus Mistry is concerned. But the point that Mr. Singhvi made, what about Nasli Wadia? He's moved court, he's filed a defamation suit. I think his fate in any case comes up when all these 3 AGMs meet, whether it's Tata Chemical or Indian Hotels or Tata Steel.
Supriya, so essentially what happens is the first EGM, which is Indian Hotels tomorrow, and the last EGM of Tata Power, these 2 EGMs become irrelevant because the whole idea was to remove Cyrus Mistry as director. But as far as the other 3 are concerned, whether it's Tata Chemicals, Tata Steel or Tata Motors, apart from removing Cyrus Mistry, there was also a resolution to remove Nasli Wadia as a director. So that holds. So to that extent, those 3 EGMs will go on as scheduled. But as far as the first 2 are and the last one are concerned, obviously there won't be anything on the agenda given the fact that Cyrus has already stepped down. Well, I just wanted to ask Anil Singhvi here. Mr. Singhvi, as far as the role of the independent directors are concerned, we have seen very clearly that you had one set of independent directors which were backing the Tatas, another set of independent directors which were backing Cyrus Mistry. So to that extent, nobody was truly independent in that sense. Because if I argue for Cyrus Mistry, there was a few independent directors who were part of the NRC of Tata Sons, which gave a fantastic recommendation to Cyrus Mistry and asked for a decent pay hike for him. So to that extent, what do you say to that?
I think this whole ugly spat between the 2 of them had divided the whole independent directors and the role of independent directors. I think it was split into the middle completely, and I remained completely speechless on this whole situation, that somebody is supporting Ratan Tata, other person is supporting Cyrus Mistry. So I think this whole role of independent directors need to be looked into far more seriously. They have to be looked into from the board situations. And Mohit rightly said that every time you don't have to come out and speak in the public domain, because right forum for you to speak is either the boardroom or the general body meetings of the shareholders. Coming on to the media and talking about and taking the sides of one against the other, I think they have not really conducted themselves in the best of the glory which I would want independent directors to be. But having said all this, Abhinava and Supriya, according to me, I think it's a good learning. For last 2 months, what we have seen, and I think media has done an excellent job in bringing out many issues. I think going forward, if we can fix the House of Tatas on this and fix the whole regulatory framework around it and independent directors institution on this, I think we have done, at least the minority shareholders have won a big battle if this is fixed according to me.
You know, like we were just discussing, we haven't heard the last of this battle, and there's just a statement that's coming in from Tata Sons, Abhi, and that statement very clearly says that Mistry's resignation is a deliberate strategy. Allegations continue to remain baseless. This is overwhelming majority did not support Mistry's actions. So, like I said, Mohit, this is not the last we've heard of the very bitter boardroom battle, or have we?
Which
Absolutely.
is
In fact,
true.
I
I would
completely
say
agree with you.
if
I mean,
you are if if you are making such serious allegation for a house of Tata, they will come out and defend. Really, the issue is who started allegation and who defended. Did really basically there were issue of that they wanted a director to resign, a managing director to resign, which the promoters of the group had the right. He refused to resign, and he said actually he's a great competent guy and he should be given a full right and explain the reason, which under no law is required to give a reason why he wants to leave, because any promoter can decide who the managing director would be. That's the law. Actually, the whole issue which is being brought here is that you are trying to do something which is provided in law, and you are trying to use independent directors. And again, just to react what Anil said, just because you're supporting Ratan Tata or Cyrus Mistry, that doesn't compromise your independence. What you are supporting? If you are supporting a nominee director ploy to take over the company, then serious there is an issue of independence. But if you are supporting an issue of governance, you are deciding whether the remuneration should be increased, not increased, if somebody is doing a good job, or whether there should be fraction between a managing director and the promoter. I think in my view, a lot of directors
Right.
took that position just because they supported Ratan Tata. It did not imply
Right.
that they really were puppets.
Fair point indeed. Abhi, I'm reading out what I've got. Mr. Mistry has done precious little to build the goodwill of the Tata Group, built through the hard work and dedication of its employees. He makes baseless, unsubstantiated and malicious allegations using selective disclosure of information against the very institution he claims to have the highest regard for. You did see this coming, did you not, Abhinaba?
no, I haven't seen the statement yet. But yes, this was along expected lines, because at the end of the day, finally the Tatas are reacting to Cyrus's decision to step down. But it's definitely come as a big relief for the Tatas, given the fact the kind of series of EGMs that were lined up. It would have been a very pleasant thing for the Tatas as well, the kind of questions that were being raised. In fact, we seen that even in case of TCS, where Tatas own almost 74% stake, minority shareholders asking some uncomfortable questions. At least that's gone for now. We just hope it's a new beginning for the Tata Group.
Indeed, it should be a new beginning at Bombay House. But Anil Singhvi, Mohit Saraf, Gurucharan Das and Abhinav Adas, thank you very, very much for keeping your date with us this evening as we discuss and debate what is perhaps corporate India's worst or best kept secret that's out in dirty laundry on your screens right now as we speak. But we did have a word with Sivasankaran, the man who Cyrus Mistry continues to gun for.
He should have done this on the next day. He need not have waited for 2 months. Okay. And that would have helped a lot of minority shareholders who lost the value in Tata Group shares. The second thing is that Sivasankaran matter was known to him 4 years back. And I have written a letter and he said that he will meet. Second thing, I am a victim here. I am not a beneficiary. Let me give you one fact. C. Sivasankaran has invested from his family money 965 crores in TTSL. It's a fact number one. When I sold the shares to NTT Docomo, I only got 200 crores. Fact number two. I have paid 2,000 crores interest to the commercial banks. Fact number three. When Union Bank of India and IDBI has pledged the TTSL shares, they have not pledged on the basis of Siva Group or on the credibility of Sivasankar. They pledged it on the credibility of Tata Group. Tata Group continues to borrow from all these nationalized banks. Where is the question of I paying any money? I don't understand. I don't owe any money to Tata Sons. I am an investor. An investor invests in the company for profit. Did I was a board director? No. Am I a group company of Tatas? No. Am I a fund like Singapore? No. I have never invested in any other company in my life 965 crores. If I would have invested this money in Reliance or any other company, today I would be having 8,000 crores valuation. This guy has got some mental problem. I would recommend him to go and consult a good doctor.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.